Another week, and just like every week, just too much to unpack. Here we are on a sunny day in Beijing.
Gorgeous day.
Yeah. Remember, 7 years ago, they were saying, you can't live in Beijing.
Your lungs will get killed.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, we live with sunny days and blue skies almost every single day.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Goes to show you what government can do.
If they put their mind to it, if they're competent, if they're disciplined, if they really, really try to think about improving the livelihood of people. I think, we talked about this before, all the things about ESG, all the things about, zero carbon emission and so on and so forth. None of that will work if governments don't get their act together and actually execute.
Well, I've rarely seen the kind of turnaround that you've seen in Beijing anywhere in the world.
I think in terms of the most polluting cities in the world, top 20, 10 years ago, more than 10 were in China. Today, none.
Well, unfortunately, the curse has been passed down to India.
Yeah, to India, right.
It's really tough. I mean, there's always this thing when you're developing. Controlling pollution becomes an issue. All right, let's get to the meat of it. Metaverse, stock plummets. I mean, it's incredible. Here we are. Everyone said that this was going to be the next big thing, and they haven't figured out. They have the metaverse. Everyone understands it's another world out there. How do you get there? All of the headsets have bombed, and the Google stock is down tremendously. 24%.
Yeah, Metaverse is stuck. I think it is not something that is very real.
It isn't real, but I mean, you talk about the hype. Everything in the stock market now is not about what's going to happen in the future or tell me about your growth story. Now it's how much money do you make? Show me the money. If you can't show me the money, I'm not interested.
I think there's something interesting here. Show me the money, because what we should tie into Metaverse is Elon Musk takeover of Twitter, because Elon Musk has been saying that Twitter has not fully realized its potential. It could become like WeChat in China.
Okay, let's separate something. This is a brilliant, engineer. He has a vision and ability to deliver. But in terms of social issues, he has inborn impediments. He said, and his mother has said, that he's on the spectrum, meaning that he has cognitive inabilities. He doesn't react to situations the way other people do. As we could see when he fired one of his senior executives while sitting in a podcast. And let us say, awkward. She said, well, there's a lot of blame to go around and things like that. And he says, yeah, failure isn't an option, you're fired. He said that on things. He fired a lot of his executives. I don't think that your abilities to construct ships that go to Venus are necessarily the same as running a social media network. And I think this is going to be his Waterloo. I don't know that it bankrupts him, but it certainly is going to bite into his fortune.
Yes. At the same time, I've seen some videos of him being interviewed talking about how Twitter could have the potential of becoming something or copying WeChat.
Never going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Well, no, what I mean by that is they've been eyeing that space for a long period of time. And they're not the only one. Amazon clearly wants to do it. Apple, with their Apple Pay, is trying to do a lot of the same things. For him to do that would require so much change at that organization. And I'm not just talking about, he has to not only change the platform, add a tremendous amount of things. I mean, because WeChat, it's not only communications, short message, it's communications direct. It's payments.
It's phone.
It's phone, but it's connected into everything.
That's right.
To the banks.
Yeah.
I connect my bank to it. I pay my bills, my utility bills.
That's
I don't
right.
go anywhere and pay them. I just go online and say electricity or water, right? All of that takes a tremendous amount of time, and he has to change out his human resources. And this is not something that's going to happen in 6 months or a year. It's going to take years in order to do. So during that period of time, it's not clear that he has revenues. I still think that he will turn around and sue the company based on fraud. Well, no, because he didn't bother to look is one thing. That won't stop him from concluding the deal. But afterwards, he has a very strong case to go back and say, look, you made representations, I relied on them, all right? And now I want you to pay me back the money that you defrauded me of. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. So what's your predictions for him? You think it's going to work out okay with Elon Musk and Twitter? You think he can transition?
I'm not sure, because there's been, like you said, so much hype over Metaverse, over the unreal stuff. Yeah. If Twitter goes in the unreal direction, and then it can be very, very problematic. If it goes in the direction of WeChat, which means improving efficiency, making everything in life much simpler.
But Charles, let's take a look at the track record. There's a lot of theoretical things that come out of the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, Facebook, Twitter, all of these things were pioneered there. But when it comes to applications,
it's China.
It's China.
Yeah.
China has a much better ability and market reception.
That's right.
I mean, no one can exist here without Alipay or WeChat.
That's right.
So, I think this is going to continue. I think he's going to fall flat on his face with this one. And it doesn't matter how much money he gets back because he was defrauded or claims to be defrauded. In the end, he's going to run this into the ground. And
is he going to go into politics?
no, I don't think so. He's too mercurial. He's beyond Donald Trump. And he has the same knack for saying things. I mean, firing somebody on air. Donald Trump did it for theatrical purposes. With him, I think it's just impulse control. He cannot control himself. He has to say
emotionally
something.
Unstable.
Well, he tweeted, Nancy Pelosi's husband viciously attacked. He retweets something that is all about conspiracy theories, which are just completely crazy. This is the same group who was claimed that Nancy, it's basically a QAnon type of thing. And here now he took it down a little while, but why is the head of a company tweeting out things which should have been fact-checked before? Right. He should have a team. If he wants to tweet it out, he say there should be people with him and saying, look, this is what I want to tweet out, fact-check it, get back to me. If it's good, send it out. But he's not doing that. He's at the helm of the controls all the time. And how many companies can he run effectively? All right, just not there. The price of lies. A jury has ordered right-wing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones to pay almost $1 billion, $965 million US. It seems that he was moving money around prior to the trial, and now they got him. But I mean, here's a situation, once again, where Twitter, Facebook, the internet, YouTube were used to spread an absolutely false, vindictive, negative, vicious lies.
That's right.
Which resulted in these families being persecuted, threatened online. They've lost a child.
That's right.
Or a sister parent, and now they're being subject to attack as part of some sort of conspiracy. Now, the courts have spoken, but there's still a group of people who are listening to Alex Jones and his people. When we start looking at these things, doesn't it tell you something's broken?
Absolutely. The social structure of the country is broken.
Yeah, but
there's no more empathy.
It's being expressed in these kind of weird things.
There's no empathy for people who've suffered through losing a child. You know, there's no.
Or gun violence.
That's right.
Yeah. But another thing, cheating. They have chess, all right? They accuse a young guy of cheating, all right, because he said he cheated before. Then they have, he turns around and sues them for slander. Then you have fishing. Some guys apparently who've been winning fishing contests were taking lead pellets and putting it into the fish so that they weigh more. But this is for prize money. And these guys took home a lot of money. So they're going to be prosecuted for fraud. Poker. Apparently there's some guy who was cheating at poker, looking at people's hands and things like this. And you can see it clearly on the television.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of wonder how you think you can get away with cheating when there's multiple cameras looking at you in all directions.
You know how it can be done? Now, the cards used for poker actually have chips inside. They can be tracked. And the chips are tracking the cards basically for TV shows. Yeah. So that, you see a poker game going on, the TV show will show what each person is holding and so on.
Oh, so you don't even have to look at the
Right.
camera. They know what's
That's
there.
Right. They know what's there.
But if somebody hacks into that, then they know exactly what the hands are. Well, as I've always said, anything made electronically can be unmade electronically.
That's right.
If you make it, you can hack it.
What's the Fat Bear contest?
The Fat Bear contest is this contest. Every year they take pictures of bears in Alaska. Okay, and then people vote for the fattest bear. It's just silly. It's just fun, right? And it's something that I don't know if people are betting on Fat Bear or what, but apparently somebody organized a cheating ring to skew the results in favor of a particular bear.
Fat Bear, yeah.
Yeah, but when you start looking at all of this stuff, it really starts to make you wonder. Is the metaverse, are the things that we've created reflecting society, or are they actually amplifying the worst parts of it? Maybe even some good parts, but making it just unbelievable. It just doesn't seem plausible. And as you said, no empathy.
I think what you described in terms of the metaverse is that you can actually do things which are totally illegal in metaverse.
Yes.
You can create circumstances or actually imply you're executing very illegal.
You can have virtual rape, virtual killing. I mean,
exactly.
That's what video games are.
That's right.
And, many studies have shown.
That's not good.
Well, no, many studies have shown that this is not good for children.
That's right.
A little bit of game playing is fine. It helps at some sort of cognitive things. But doing 6-8 hours a day, obviously, is not good. And they've tied back almost every single instance where you've had a mass shooting involving kids. You tie it back, you go to their room, what do you see? An Xbox or a Sony PlayStation or one of these groups.
That's right.
And a bunch of violent games. Basically, killing becomes a game. And if you do this for thousands...
But more than for kids, I think for emotionally unstable adults, it's the same thing. The metaverse does the same thing. It allows them to carry out what they want to carry out in their imagination.
I know, but there's certain imagination is one thing. But when you are
Transfer
able to
that to reality.
Reinforce it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's things. All right. Troubles in the EU. We could talk about this for days.
That's right.
Eurozone inflation jumps to 10.7%. It's not going down, it's going up. We're not even in winter yet.
That's right.
They're
hoping for a warm winter.
I know, but there's nothing. Everyone says pressure on the European Central Bank. What does that mean? There's nothing they can do. They can raise rates, which will further depress the economy, putting people out of jobs, shifting them over from productive to non-productive.
They can print money.
Yeah, but that means more inflation.
That's right.
So I always wonder that people have this idea that somehow somebody can wave a magic wand and do it. I mean, look at Great Britain.
That's
I mean,
right.
Sunak walks in, nothing is different from the day that Boris Johnson walked out, or yeah, Liz Truss vacated the premises after decorating it, of course.
Yeah.
I wonder, apparently there's some interesting colors there. But it just stinks. But now you have this unreal situation where they don't know where they're going. And what are they doing? They're turning to China to keep warm.
That's right.
Unbelievable numbers. It's like the 3 times the number of hot water bottles, sweaters,
electric blankets
up 150%
Yeah.
month from last month.
That's right.
All right, we're not even into the cold period. Well, they've started to have cold, and it just doesn't seem now.
In Zhejiang province, where a lot of these things are made, 24/7 now.
Yeah, but
3 shifts.
But I mean, an electric blanket it's cloth,
Yeah.
right, and it's also electrical components and things like that. So many of these companies are hopefully, I mean, they're sourcing parts from other parts of China. The cloth is done on looms from one factory.
Yeah.
The electrical components are done at several different factories.
Zhejiang, right.
And then they bring them together, put it together, and create this electric blanket, which is then sent to Europe. So the Chinese government's talked a lot about how exports can help. Do you think this is going to help? Do you think this is going to spur small, medium-sized enterprises, which is what they're aiming at?
What all of these things are being made, if you talk about hot water bottles, electric blankets, and so on, even thermal underwear. It's been quite a bit of that.
Up 300%
That's
month
right.
on month.
All of this stuff in China is not produced by SOEs. They're produced by small and medium-sized enterprises, basically in Guangdong and Zhejiang province. I just hope they don't overcapacitize. In other words, start creating excess capacity.
Well, but I mean, a lot of an electric blanket isn't something that comes off the assembly line. I don't think.
No.
My guess. Well, there's smaller assembly lines, but it's not like making paper or making the cloth itself, where you have to have huge investments. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Let's talk about Credit Suisse. You called it. All right. What was it? 3-4 weeks ago, you
That's
said
right.
it's tanking.
It's tanking. It's in
We
bad
talked
shape.
about how the stock was plummeting. Now they just announced 3.7 billion Swiss francs, which is roughly equivalent in US dollars. And that is the third loss. They racked up 900, that 3.7 billion is just this last quarter. Okay. First half, 992 million Swiss francs. Okay. And then if you go back the year before, they had 408 billion francs.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. 3.7 billion francs in 2021, 992 million Swiss francs in the first half of 2022, and they just announced a net loss of 4.03 billion Swiss francs for the last 3 months. So that brings it up to about 5 billion for the year.
It's going to continue, unfortunately.
Well, we got another quarter to go. So
we also have 900 job cuts, 9,000 job
9,000 job cuts, and they're
Credit Suisse.
looking for the Middle East to bail them out.
That's right.
Looking for 4 billion. I don't know that they can make it. And I think you're right. It will go back to a nationalized asset because they can't afford to let it fail.
Because that's what's happened really to Deutsche Bank too.
Yeah.
Deutsche Bank has had really serious problems the last couple of years, and it's now in better shape because it's backed by the German government. So
yeah, when you have an unlimited credit. Now, the criticism is always that Chinese banks are backed by the Chinese government, and that's wrong. That's anti-market, right? So now it didn't matter when things were too big to fail in the U.S. after the financial crisis in '09. It was okay for the government to step in to keep order, right?
That's right.
But that should have gone away because free market principles, that is the most important part of this kind of democracy and open free markets,
Hypocrisy.
right? Well, yeah, it looks like hypocrisy.
Yeah.
It smells like hypocrisy. Walks like hypocrisy. Probably hypocrisy. All right, talking about other things. You saw the Cyprus-Turkey situation seems to be brewing up. The United States is now exporting arms to Cyprus. They had an embargo. Do you think this is because Turkey has been going its own way with Ukraine, with China?
No, I think in terms of the situation in Cyprus, it's always been an issue between Turkey and Greece for a long, long time. You have the Turkish Cypriots and the Greek Cypriots.
Yeah, but why do we need more instability at this time? I thought Europe had, Europeans are saying that they want peace in Ukraine.
Yeah.
All right. And now you have a situation where
Lifting the arms embargo, sure.
Well,
I think
arms into
that's right, into Cyprus. I think in terms of this, there is the Turkey side. Turkey is now increasingly playing a much bigger role in the whole Middle East.
Yeah, but they're not playing ball with the U.S.
They're NATO
so
also.
You tell NATO, U.S. They bought S-400 systems, and, defense systems, anti-aircraft systems from the Russians. This caused some problems. They've talked about joining the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and other things. They didn't condemn the situation in Ukraine, and they continue to trade with all sides.
Yeah.
So, and they've made it very clear they intend to go their own way. And all of a sudden, there's an arms embargo lifted. What changed with Cyprus that the U.S. was doing? Other
than just cause trouble, because in the 1970s, when I was in the United Nations, it was the Cypriot issue was a major issue, but really between Greece and Turkey.
Two NATO allies.
Two NATO allies, exactly. And at that time, it was, I think, the Greek Cypriots and the Turkish Cypriots were pretty much separated.
Yeah. Well, it's still separated, but there's, I don't understand. The world is on the brink
That's right.
of possible nuclear war, and you start feeding arms into a volatile situation. It doesn't seem to make sense. All right, so let's talk about Ukraine. Russia's responded, has been using missiles. It looks like the war is expanding.
Yeah,
and there's
escalating.
no end in sight. It's escalating, and there's no end in sight.
Yeah.
Now the issue of the dirty bomb has been raised to the UN at the Security Council. The Atomic Commission is going to go and take a look at a couple of sites that Russia has indicated. But this is not going in the right direction. And I don't see anything from the U.S. side other than let's increase the sanctions and put more pressure on Russia. I don't know how they think that this is going to end, that Russia's going to collapse or...
Okay, there are some, I think, nationally unified views in the U.S. against Russia. This is the elite. But the midterm elections may do something.
There were 30 congressmen who came
right.
out and said, look, we disagree with this blank check to
That's right.
Ukraine. We encourage peace talks.
That's right.
And now you've had Republicans
That's right.
very vociferously saying, no blank check to Ukraine.
That's right. Then you have something else, which I think is interesting. For the G20 meeting, the host is Indonesia, of course.
Yeah. Our good friend.
Joe, yeah. I think there were some press reports that Indonesian government said that the U.S. is asking them to play a positive role on the Russian-Ukraine conflict in the G20 meeting.
But how are they going to solve it if the U.S. won't?
Exactly.
You figure it out. And this is
Exactly.
what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I mean, you've heard Blinken say China needs to solve this.
Yeah.
Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Indonesia. Everybody except the U.S.
Yeah.
who caused it.
No, what may be interesting here is it possible that there could be some bilateral talks that starts in the direction of solving the problem during the G20?
Yeah, but we all know what the problem is and what the solution is.
That's right.
The problem is Russia feels very strongly that its security is at risk.
That's right.
Right. So the solution is very simple. You just simply say that the areas around Ukraine, they can belong to NATO or not, but they cannot have missiles in them, and they have
autonomous regions.
It's not autonomous. They're not under Russian direct control or anything.
Yeah.
But if you simply allowed a buffer around it and said there will be no eyeball-to-eyeball troops or missiles.
Offensive missiles.
Offensive missiles.
Yeah.
I think that would solve it. And I think in the end, that is the only solution.
By the way, Zelensky attacked Elon Musk like crazy because of what Musk said about this.
Well, you want to talk about an autocrat. Apparently, he's been cracking down on the press, anybody who says anything that isn't in his playbook.
Yeah.
Yet he complains about an autocratic Russia.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Everybody knows what the solution is. The only solution that will work in creating longer-term stability. But the question is, at which point people will go to the table and actually start talking about it.
Yeah, but at what point, how many Ukrainians,
Russians
have to die to make the table ready for peace talks?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Is this like Westphalia, where they have to literally butcher each other for 100 years before they can finally say, we're tired of killing each other?
There are a couple of hotel general managers telling me that the number of bilateral arrangements in terms of meeting rooms in Bali for the G20 is overwhelming.
Well, good for somebody. Tourist trade hasn't been that great.
Great for the hotels, sure.
Yeah.
But
although, putting a plug in for Bali, apparently they've just done wonders, and tourism is back up.
It's back up,
and it's a huge destination now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, U.S. growth numbers came in higher than expected, 2.6% versus 2.3%.
Instead of negative.
Yeah, instead of negative. But GDP, once again, GDP is, no. The reason I talk about it is because this surge, every economist is saying the same thing. This is not a real surge. It has to do with the strength of the dollar and how you correct measurements. So although it looks like it's going forward, the fact is demand went down, factory reduction went down.
That's right.
Productivity went down, investment went down, over 8%. Investment is down over 8%. I mean, the PMI, the production manager index, producer manager index, is way below. So down around 42. I mean, 50 is neutral.
Break even.
Above 50, you're expanding. Below 50, you're contracting.
Yeah.
And they're really contracting.
Yeah.
So it may look good for this quarter, but every quarter after this for the next foreseeable time is going to be worse and worse. And then on Wednesday, coming Wednesday, the Fed is looking at a
Another
three-quarter point, 75 basis point increase in
and
the
another
rate.
one in December too, potentially. Yeah.
I mean, they're killing it. Every economist out there is saying, if you kill the baby, it doesn't grow up. You cannot continue these things. America is exporting inflation. Every time worldwide. Yeah. Every time, because right after the Fed rate goes up, the European Central Bank, Japan, everybody has to respond. And when that happens, they up the rates, kills the global economy. So it isn't helping the U.S. because it's killing it. It's not addressing inflation. It's doing more harm to the global economy.
Yeah.
And yet they continue to do it. Strange. So what's your prediction? You say 3 quarters tomorrow, another 3 quarters in December?
Yeah, I think it's very possible another 3 quarters in December, because inflation really hasn't come down. It's still over 8%.
I think it's going to be, inflation is going to be flat around 8%, which
Yeah.
means people continue to lose money. The 70%
That's right.
living paycheck
That's right.
to paycheck are going to wonder how.
When wage rates are up 2%, inflation of 8%, you're shrinking your overall budget.
Your real income goes
Yeah.
down. Yeah. All right, midterm elections.
Oh boy.
Let's do our predictions here. I say the House goes Republican,
Yeah.
and that the Senate stays flat. That it'll be
50-50.
It'll be 50-50, which helps Biden. But by losing the House of Representatives, what's going to happen is they've already said they're going to mount investigations. So it doesn't happen immediately. This is the election. They come into power in January. At that point, you're going to see committee after committee after committee investigating Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden towards an eye, perhaps towards
Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden, obviously. They'll be investigating the investigators, e.g., the efforts by the Democrats to investigate January 6th and Trump. Those will be investigated.
Yeah.
And one wonders if they'll have any time to do anything constructive.
One wonders whether or not they actually put some energy into correcting the imbalances in the economy and the problems that the U.S. people are facing. They can't.
Right now, they could say, oh, we need to get together with the G20. This is the same kind of financial meltdown that we had then. We need to get the major powers together with the money. We have to cooperate. We have to stay alive. Even if we want to fight, we have to stay alive to fight.
Yeah.
And I don't see one move towards that.
There's
right. More hostility towards all international groups than I've ever seen before. Not just China, everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Also, the other part is, I think in 2008, 2009, there was much more unity among the Europeans in facing up to the financial crisis. The Europeans, I think, are increasingly split between North and Southern Europe, East and Western Europe. Individual countries are now coming out to demand protection for them, for their own people and their own interest. So I think it's going to be even more difficult, much more difficult than in 2008, 2009, because EU, ideologically talking about common values, democracy, freedom, all of that is garbage when you can't feed your people, when you can't treat your people with the basic needs, to fill their basic needs.
Human rights.
Yeah.
Yeah, access to food.
That's
little
right.
things like that.
Yeah.
Housing, heating.
That's right.
Heating your home.
That's right.
A job.
Yeah, a job. That's right. Yeah. And decent income.
You know, you wonder if this is going to change people's perception, not just selfishly say, oh, I don't want to care about Ukraine because I care about myself, but I'm saying just what are the basis of human rights? Is it a ballot box and the ability to say whatever you want? Or are they going to readjust their ideas and say, look, I never really thought there would be a time when I would be facing hunger, that I would have not enough money, or there was not availability of energy to heat my home or to run the factory where I work.
Okay, two things happens here. Two things. And I think both are very, very high risk. One is you identify an enemy. And the enemy certainly is not ourselves.
Oh, no. No matter what we did bad, it's not our fault.
It's not our fault. So you identify an enemy, that's one part. The second part is you use the ideological BS, if I can put it that way, the ideological BS to justify a potential swing towards certain directions that you don't want to see society move toward.
But there's no end game in that.
There's no end game.
All you're doing is pushing negative, anger, fear.
And war.
Well, anger and fear generally lead to conflict.
That's right.
Yeah.